Hello dear students. In our last class we discussed about transport number and we had a introduction for Hittorf's rule. So transport number, as I told in my last class, the fraction of the total quantity of electricity carried by each kind of the ion of the electrolyte. So it is not like a cation or anion. So anion or a cation, how much of electricity it is going to carry, each fraction, that is cation and anion, the total quantity of electricity which is carried by each kind of ion, that is what is called as transport number, and it is represented in terms of T plus and T minus. And Hittorf's rule says that during electrolysis, loss of concentration at any electrode is proportional to the mobility of the ion moving away from it. So this is what Hittorf's rule says that. So now let us see how to determine a transport number of an ion by Hittorf's method using unattackable electrodes. Okay. So this is a schematic representation or the diagram which shows that how we have to do the experimental setup. So the apparatus consists of 3 tubes. Okay, so here you can see. So this is one tube and this is one U tube. This is in the shape U, so that is why it is called as U tube, and this is another one tubes. Okay, so all these 3 tubes have tabs at the bottom, so you can clearly see it. So we have tabs at the bottom. So here the solution in the U tube acts as the middle compartment. So this is the middle compartment. So here the solution which is there in this tube, in this U tube, so it acts as a middle compartment. The outer tubes act as the anode and cathode. So one will be anode and another one will be a cathode. So these are the 2 outer tubes. All the 3 tubes are connected. So you can see here. So this is connected in this to this U tube, and this U tube is connected to this tube. Okay. And here the apparatus is filled with N/20 silver nitrate solution. So we are taking silver nitrate solution. That means silver nitrate will get clearly dissociated into Ag plus and NO3 minus. Silver nitrate is clearly dissociated solution. So we are going to take it in this apparatus. Into the outer compartments, platinum wires are dipped. Okay, so this is what is called as platinum wire. So here you can see. So to the both outer compartments or outer tubes, so we have dipped the platinum wires, or the silver electrodes also can be used if the electrodes are attackable. So we are going to use silver electrodes. Okay, so now we'll see how the experiment will go on. So now to this experimental setup we have to connect a rheostat. Okay, so a battery is connected, and all these 3 tubes are interconnected with a battery through a copper coulometer. Okay, so through a copper coulometer, a rheostat and a milliammeter. A current of 20 to 30 milliamperes is passed for 2 to 3 hours. Okay, so 2 to 3 hours we should allow the AgNO3 what has been taken in the N/20 concentration to proceed or to react at 20 to 30 milliamperes current. Okay, so the electricity is passed for 2 to 3 hours, and at the end of the experiment the stopcock at the top of the U tube are closed. Okay, so this stop clocks which are present at the top of the U tube is closed. So we have to close the stopcock here, and the whole of the anodic solution is drained into a weighed beaker. We have to weigh how much of a solution, that is Ag plus. Ag plus will get attracted towards anode. No, so how much of Ag plus, that is the silver ions, has been deposited. So that has to be calculated. How much weight of Ag plus is electrolyted, so that is determined. So to determine that, so the weight of the beaker with the solution is taken and the amount of silver in the whole of the solution is then determined by titrating against standard ammonium thiocyanate. Okay, so we are going to titrate the obtained silver solution which is in the anodic compartment, and we are going to titrate it against standard ammonium thiocyanate, and then the weight of copper deposited on the cathode of the copper coulometer is also determined, and with the help of these two values we are going to find out the transport number of the silver ion. Okay, so how to do the calculation we will see one by one. So you have to clearly understand this, don't get confused with this. So slowly I am going to explain. When the electrodes are non-attackable, so this is when the electrodes are non-attackable. So let me call mass of AgNO3 solution taken for analysis from the anode compartment after electrolysis. Okay, so after electrolysis means after passing 20 to 30 milliamperes of current to the anodic compartment for 2 to 3 hours. So what was the mass of silver nitrate solution taken? Let me call it as A grams. Okay, and next is mass of AgNO3 in it. Okay, so in this solution you should remove the solution. This is the mass of AgNO3 solution, but this is only the mass of AgNO3. Okay, that means we have to subtract the mass of water, so that is what is called mass of water. Okay, so here mass of AgNO3 net is called as B grams, and if you want to know the mass of water we have to minus this one. A minus B gives the mass of water. And next is the same thing, mass of AgNO3 solution taken for analysis before electrolysis, that is before passing the current, for 2 to 3 hours. So what was the mass of AgNO3 solution taken? So that is called as C grams. And mass of AgNO3 in it, so this is before electrolysis, let me call it as D. And mass of water before electrolysis, so this is before electrolysis and this is after electrolysis, so that you have to see the difference. Okay, so till here, so this is the upper part, so this is after electrolysis and this is before electrolysis, so that is why CD, and the mass of water is equals to C minus DL. Okay, next is so mass of AgNO3 associated with A minus gram of water before electrolysis. So A minus B gram of water before electrolysis is equals to, so D into A minus B divided by C minus D. Okay, so how we are going to get this is so mass of water, so mass of water A minus B and mass of water before electrolysis C minus D. So this is written, so we are just doing the cross multiplication. Okay, so if this is the mass of water after electrolysis and this is the mass of water before electrolysis, we know the mass of water and we know the mass of AgNO3 in it, and what is the mass of AgNO3 which is associated with A minus B gram of water is written like this. So just we have done cross multiplication. If you see it in your textbook, so this equation will be clear to you. Okay, so let me call this as P grams. And next is loss of concentration in the anode compartment is equals to P minus B grams. Okay, so loss of concentration in the anode compartment is equals to P minus B grams. Okay, so now let me convert this into equivalent weight, that is P minus B divided by the equivalent weight of AgNO3, that is equivalent mass of AgNO3 is 170. So that is why I can write it in this way, which gives the grams in equivalence. Okay, so much grams, that is Y, let me call it as Y grams of equivalence. In the same way, so Y gram of equivalence of AgNO3 has been associated with A minus B gram of water before electrolysis. So this is what is understood by this. And the next is, in the same way we can calculate the copper which has been deposited on the cathode of the coulometer. So let me call it as W grams, and with the help of equivalent mass of copper, that is W divided by 31.8 is the equivalent mass of copper, so we can get Z equivalent. Okay, so now as the definition of the transport number says, so T plus is equals to U plus divided by U plus U minus. That means loss in equivalent of the electrolyte in the anode compartment divided by equivalents of copper deposited on the cathode in the coulometer. By substituting these values, Y divided by Z, so we can calculate the transport number. And it should be noted that the transport number T plus and T minus of the positive and negative ions in a given electrolyte are related as T1 plus T minus, which is equals to 1. If we know any one, that is, if by knowing the value of T plus, the value of T minus can be calculated. Okay, so this is how we are going to calculate the transport number with the help of Hittorf's method, that too particularly when the electrodes are non-attackable. Now we will see how to find out when the electrodes are attackable. That means silver electrodes. Silver electrodes are attackable electrodes. That means we are using silver nitrate here. So the silver electrode will attack the silver which has been present in the solution of silver nitrate. Okay, so for this in the same way how we did the calculation for the previous one, non-attackable electrodes, so the mass of AgNO3 solution taken for the analysis from the anode compartment after electrolysis is taken as A, and mass of AgNO3 is called as B. Therefore the mass of water is A minus B grams. Similarly, so the mass of AgNO3 solution taken for analysis before electrolysis is called as C. Mass of AgNO3 in it is D, and mass of water is equals to C minus D. Okay, so hence mass of AgNO3 associated with A minus B grams of water before electrolysis is equals to, so D into A minus B. So this is by doing cross multiplication, so we are going to get, so this is called as P grams. And okay, so and next is so the actual gain in the concentration of AgNO3 in the anode compartment, that is A minus G or B minus P grams is equals to, by taking the equivalent weight, we are going to convert the grams into equivalents. So let me call it as Y equivalents. Similarly, mass of copper deposited on the cathode of coulometer is equals to W divided by the equivalent weight of copper, that is 31.8. Let me call it as Z equivalent. And now next is the amount of silver dissolved is equals to the amount of copper deposited in the coulometer in equivalents. Therefore, expected increase in the concentration of the anode compartment is equals to Z equivalents. Now, the loss in the concentration due to the migration of Ag plus ions from the anode compartment is equals to Z minus Y equivalent. Okay, so now let me calculate the transport number of Ag plus ions. So as we used in the previous section, so transport number of Ag plus ions defines the loss in equivalent of the electrolyte in the anodic compartment divided by equivalents of copper deposited on the cathode in the coulometer. So that means TAg plus, so this is more specific. So here the transport number of Ag plus cation is equals to, so Z minus Y divided by Z. Okay, so this is Z minus Y divided by Z. The transport number of nitrate ion is given by the relation, so T nitrate, that is NO3, T NO3 minus is equals to 1 minus T Ag plus. Okay, so in this way we are going to calculate the transport number of respective cations and anions. Okay. And next, another method is determination of transport number by moving boundary method. The moving boundary method rests on the direct observation of migration of ions in an electric field. Okay, so how the migration or the movement of electrons or the ions takes place, so that is directly observed in moving boundary method. Okay, so that is why the name moving boundary method. The principle may be explained with a reference to determination of transport number of H plus ions in hydrochloric acid. So here the conductivity cell in this method consists of a vertical tube of uniform bore filled with cadmium chloride and hydrochloric acid as shown in the figure. Okay, so please observe the figure here. So here in this hydrochloric acid has been used in this compartment, and in this compartment cadmium chloride solution has been used. So here hydrochloric acid is the principal electrolyte, while cadmium chloride serves as a indicator electrolyte to enable formation of the boundary. Okay, so this is what is called as moving boundary. So here hydrochloric acid solution is the principal electrolyte, whereas the cadmium chloride solution which is used, so that is used to serve as the indicator electrolyte to make it clear to enable the formation of a boundary. Okay, so the concentrations of the solutions are so adjusted that hydrochloric acid solution is lighter than the cadmium chloride solution. Okay, so we should take care while preparing the solutions that hydrochloric acid solution should be less than the cadmium chloride solution. Okay, so the concentration of the solutions are so adjusted that HCl solution is lighter than cadmium chloride solution. Why we have to do like this is so this is because so the hydrochloric acid has to flow over the cadmium chloride solution, and then we are going to observe a sharp boundary between these two solutions. The selection of the indicator electrolyte has to be made very carefully. Its cation should not move faster than the cation whose transport number is to be determined, and it should have the same anion as the principal electrolyte. So here if we observe the anions between the two solutions, that is HCl and CdCl2, so the anions are same. So the anion which is present in CdCl2 solution is as same as the anion which is present in the principal electrolyte, that is HCl. So cadmium chloride fulfills both these requirements, so that is why cadmium chloride is used. The mobility of the cadmium ion is less than that of hydrogen ion, and it has a common anion with hydrochloric acid. Okay, so next the anode inserted at the bottom. So here, so this is the anode. So the anode inserted at the bottom is a stick of cadmium metal, while the cathode at the top is a platinum foil. When a small current is made to flow through the conductivity cell, the chloride ions move towards the anode, while hydrogen ions move towards the cadmium ions. Okay, the cadmium ions will move towards the cathode. The moving boundary or the boundary separating the two solutions also moves upward as indicated by an arrow in this figure. Okay, so here this boundary which is formed between the hydrochloric solution and a cadmium chloride solution, so this boundary is going to move upward. So here we can see the arrow mark. So this arrow mark shows that the boundary has been separated between the two solutions and it is moving towards the upwards. Suppose the boundary moves through a distance of L centimeter. Let me call as means the boundary or the separation between the two solutions, that is hydrochloric acid and cadmium chloride, is L centimeters of away. Then the volume of the liquid that has moved up is equals to LA centimeter cube, where A is the cross sectional area of the tube in centimeter square, and let C be the concentration of the acid. Okay, so let the concentration of the acid be C gram equivalent per liter. Now, the number of gram equivalents of H plus ions carried towards the cathode is equals to LAC divided by 1000. Okay, so this 1000 is because we are converting it to a number of gram equivalent. We are converting it to the equivalent term. So that is why LAC divided by 1000. Since each gram equivalent carries 1 Faraday of electricity, so the electricity carried by H plus ions is equals to LAC divided by 1000 Faradays. Okay, so here L is the distance between the two solutions, that is hydrochloric acid and cadmium chloride solution. How much of boundary means by measuring the distance between the two boundaries which has been formed due to these two solutions is called as L, length, and A is the cross sectional area of the tube, and C is the concentration divided by 1000 Faradays. If Q Faradays, certain amount, so 1 Faraday, 2, 10, so that is represented in a general form, that is Q. If Q Faradays of electricity flows in the same time, the transport number of H plus ions is given with the help of this equation, that is LAC divided by 1000 Q. Okay, so this is how we are going to measure the transport number of any cation or anion by moving boundary method. And next is so what are the applications of conductance measurement? So before going to the applications of conductance measurement, so let us complete with this transport number. So there is a term what is called as anomalous transport number. Anomalous means in a different way, in not expected manner. Sometimes we are going to get the transport number. The transport number of cations in aqueous solutions of cadmium iodide or potassium ferrocyanide or silver ammonium complex etc. vary with the concentration. As the concentration difference is observed, the transport number also gets altered. When concentration increases, transport number value decreases and may even become 0 or negative. Sometimes the transport number will become 0 or negative. Such cases are said to be abnormal transport number or anomalous transport number. This is due to the formation of complex. That means when complex is formed or when turbidity or precipitation is observed, so definitely there the compound has not been dissolved or dissociated in a proper way. So there is a problem in the separation of cations and anions. So that will lead the transport number to give the results or it may get decreased to become 0 or negative. Okay, so as an example, so the transport number of CD2 plus ion in solutions of cadmium iodide of various concentration can be considered. Okay, so that is given in your textbook. So you once you get to your textbook or once after completing this class, I am going to give you the notes. So there you can observe it. So here CD2 plus ion has a normal value up to 0.02 normal until this concentration. So cadmium iodide ionizes and gives CD2 plus. Okay, so this is one example which has been taken to explain the anomalous transport number, that is the abnormal transport number which is caused due to the formation of a complex. Okay, so that is what is called as anomalous transport number. So I am going to stop it here. In my next class we will discuss about the applications of conductance measurement. Thank you.